Mrs. Kez, a female kestrel, is carefully brooding 6 eggs. She shares this role with her mate, Mr. Kez, to ensure the eggs stay at the perfect temperature. The incubation started after the 3rd egg was laid and will last around a month. This is the pair's 3rd season together, and Mrs. Kez knows just how she likes to keep her nest. She carefully brings soft wood chippings into the centre to provide a cushioned base for her eggs. She's particularly protective. In previous years, she's fought off numerous attacks. And this year is no different. As Mrs. Kez sleeps, she hears a noise outside. Barn owl Finn lands at the entrance, but soon takes flight. The barn owls haven't laid eggs yet and are checking out potential sites. Finn's mate Gylfie follows. Mrs. Kez leaps up, defending her precious clutch, and holds her position even after the threat has passed. The eggs are unharmed, but she seems rattled by the attack. And the danger doesn't end here. The following day, Mrs. Kez hears disturbance outside. This time it's a pair of jackdaws prospecting nests. They're a real threat. They block neighbouring tawny owl Luna inside. Mrs. Kez heads in, but the corvids are curious, landing at her nest too. As one tries to enter, she quickly sees it off. But over the following days, the jackdaws are persistent. They're visiting the nest multiple times a day. And Mrs. Kez seems visibly stressed. Until finally, Mr. Kez swoops in, putting an end to the trouble. It's now the end of April, just a few days before the chicks should hatch. Both kestrels make the final preparations. But when Mrs. Kez heads out to stretch her wings, I spot her being harassed by a red kite. She's soon back at the nest. She just can't seem to catch a break. And as night falls, she senses another threat. Tawny owl Luna lands at the nest. Luna's got chicks nearby, and she's highly territorial. Mrs. Kez doesn't want to fight, as tawny owls are formidable opponents. But as Luna tries to enter, Mrs. Kez lunges. She'll do anything to protect her eggs. At the start of May, their troubles seem to be over. The kestrels have been taken in turns to incubate for 30 days. But now I've noticed Mr. Kez has bowed out of this role. Once the eggs hatch, he'll be in charge of bringing in food, while his mate cares for their young. His lack of brooding is a sign that the chicks are on the way. Mrs. Kez broods the eggs closely. And soon we get a glimpse of the first chick. Kestrel eggs are laid at 2 to 3 day intervals, but as they're not brooded straight away, the chicks hatch much closer together. The second chick hatches only an hour and a half after the first. Soon, Mrs. Kez leaves the nest. And Mr. Kez sees his chicks for the first time. His mate soon returns, and he sets off to find food. Mr. Kez picks up a mouse from the feeding post, where I leave supplement food. He delivers the food to his mate. And she carefully feeds the chicks. It's amazing to see how well they work together. In the afternoon, Mrs. Kez reveals a third chick, still damp. And when she leaves the nest in the evening, her fourth chick has hatched too. As night falls, there are only 2 eggs still to hatch. It's been a busy day. The next morning, Mrs. Kes wakes up early to feed the chicks. And soon reveals the 5th. And finally, the following evening, the 6th and final chick hatches too. This kestrel family is now complete, and I can't wait to see how they get on. In the next film, only a week later, Mrs. Kes disappears. With 600 mouths to feed, Mr. Kes must step up and take responsibility as a single parent. Hello Chinese friends, I'm Robert Fuller, and it's great to meet you on this platform, and I'm glad you're enjoying the wildlife. As you know, I stream my YouTube live stream in China, and lots of YouTube viewers help support and feed the wild animals that live here by donating. Since joining the Chinese platforms, I've learnt many of my viewers in China would like to do this too. So after discussing with my team in China, I've decided to do something similar with you too. I'm excited to announce a project dedicated to this called Project Aftian. Aftian allows you to donate and gives you access to exclusive behind-the-scenes footage of the animals and my paintings. Welcome to my Aftian family.